Hello, fellow YouTubers. It's the Imaginator. I'm here today to bring you guys, ladies, my One Piece Mind Chapter 1055 review. The title of this One Piece Mind Chapter is called The New Era. There's a awesome and wondrous black and white cover page panel of Shanks, Luffy, and Uta from the One Piece film Red. I think this was actually the theoretical poster of the movie that came out a while back. The beginning of the chapter, the people on the Flower Capital are celebrating, the party. And while that was occurring, Yamato, Monosuke, and Oscavers continued their fight against Rikyugu. And Reizo actually uses a fire scroll technique that does somewhat decent amount of damage, but not really effective. And the reason of this is because Rikyugu pretty much explains that I wouldn't be at Admiral HQ if I didn't discover a counter uh, method of the fruit's weakness. And then he uses this plant that gets contact with Reizo, and Reizo is sucking the life out of Reizo. And the nine scabbers, Yamato and Monos continue to fight on the outskirts of Wano. Uh, it shifts to Robin, Law, and Sukiyaki in the secret chamber. And as they're going down the stairs, Robin is saying to herself, how did you find out that, I was here? And then Law's like, well, you weren't at the party, you celebrated with everybody at the Flower Capital, so it was kind of, so I felt suspicious. I knew that, I knew something was wrong that was going on. And as those two talk, so Sukiyaki explains about the secret of the old Wano that's been going on, that's been around for like at least 800 years. He shows them the old Wano city that's completely submerged in water, and then he further explains to them that back when the old Wano was at the surface, it was connected to the Mount Fuji, and the Mount Fuji was covered of the walls that was eventually flooded by water due to the lot of rainfall that was occurring during this day. And then they reach at the very bottom, finally, of the place after Shikiyaki actually showed them the Wano, and it's actually a big, gigantic poneglyph. And Robin says that she found like another royal poneglyph, one more, and then they'll be able to reach Lapdale. And then Sukiyaki explains that he can't no longer share information about the Pluton because he's never seen it before. But he does inform them that in order for the weapon to be released, the borders need to be open, which goes back to what Monosuke said to Zunisha. And that I guess it'll pretty much crumble down the Wano's defense in order for the weapon to be released, I'm assuming. Then, after all that explanation, it goes back to the battle between Yamato, Monosuke, and Scabbers versus Rikyugu. And Yamato pretty much says, "Oh no, we got Luffy. We can let Luffy and the guys handle this for us." And then Monosuke strongly declines by saying, "No, those who are leaving, like you, Luffy, etc., we have to be able to defend one ourselves." And that he just doesn't want that to be an option. He wants them to be able to fight enemies on their own without any assistance, if it's unnecessary. And then all of a sudden he releases a blast breath, kind of like the same thing Kaido used to unleash, but obviously not as powerful and effective. But Rikyugu, it makes contact with Rikyugu, went right through him, and he starts off as a little sea miniature plant, and then he finally reforms again. And he pretty much is saying to Monosuke that, hey, for a dragon, you sound pretty puny. I never heard of a dragon sound pretty pathetic before. And then the blast happens, and then there's a electrical, like, sort of hockey out of nowhere that makes in contact with Rikyugu, And he's like, "Oh, what's this?" And he discovers that it's the Red Hair Pirates. And then Shanks makes a speech saying, I'm not trying to say it's insulting that you're going to Wano and fighting and etc. after those who celebrated, but trying to do it in a I say a cheap way, basically. That this is the new era, and there's a picture of him and Luffy when they were younger, and another panel showing Odin and Momonosuke, and then Hiyori and her mother. I think I was right. Yeah, yeah, Hiyori. Yeah, her mother, and a silhouette of Uta. And that's when Shanks was saying, attacking these new people that are just recovering from a big battle. You think that's kind of calorie for the new era. And then Ryukyugu is like, all right, I'm done. I'm not gonna fight y'all right now. And he says, fine, fine. And then after that, Yamato and Momonosuke celebrate after Ryukyugu retreated due to Shanks' hockey. And then we see in the further within Wano that Luffy, Zoro, Sanji, Jinbei witnessed what was occurring throughout the entire time. And Jinbei knows that there's a tremendous hockey, and then Luffy smiles and says, "I recognize that person's hockey with a big gigantic smile." And that's the end of the chapter. Alrighty, my thoughts. I thought the chapter was very good and extremely well informative, especially the history. I like that we got there's a lot of history with Wano with the previous Wano being submerged in water, and the explanation as to how that happened. But I'm actually kind of curious of who lived at that time. It might have been Ryoma, because I heard that Ryoma actually lived during that time, I believe, or some. No, I think it was like a little bit after that time. But yeah, I'm actually kind of see how that was like back in those days. And the battle between Yamato and Momonosuke and the Naskavers versus Ryukyugu was freaking awesome. I like that Momonosuke is actually coming to the realization that, hey, you know what, we gotta be able to fight our own battles. We can't always depend on Yamato and Luffy and the others to clean up our mess. And that pretty much Kaido was the one that was a fight that they were supposed to finish off to begin with, but were unable to, or pretty much incapable due to circumstances and etc. And so, yeah, I think Ryukyugu was saying also. I forgot to mention chapter. He said that because Kaido's no longer in control of Wano, the Marines were reluctant to go there due to Kaido's presence. And now that Kaido's now dethroned and defeated, Luffy's there. They're now more comfortable going there. Due to the fact that they don't view Luffy as much of a threat like Kaido, despite the fact that Luffy defeated Kaido. Was when I defeated Kaido overall. Again, I like the ending part where Luffy's like, yeah, I remember, this person, like, remember Shanks. He believes he remembers who that mysterious person that unleashed all the hockey was. And again, the best part of the chapter, Shanks unleashing his hockey from like miles upon miles away, which was pretty insane. And I like that Ryukyugu, it won Ryukyugu so much where he kind of had to retreat it. And that just goes to show you how strong and formidable Pirate Shanks is. And also the panels of Uta silhouette, which is the very thing that Uta was actually being shown in the actual cover page of the chapter. And Shanks' statement about the new era, which defines this actual chapter, was pretty sick overall. Yes, that is my thoughts. I thought the chapter was very entertaining, enjoyable, and very informative. I love the knowledge, etc. And that is my review of One Piece Manga Chapter 1055. Hope you all enjoyed my review. Like the video, comment your thoughts down below, and subscribe to my channel, Imagine, for more manga chapter reviews, anime discussions, and many more. With all that being said, fellow YouTubers, y'all all have a wonderful day.